order to be sustainable. If you don't make money, you're just making art. Simple as that. People are stakeholders. The people are a company as well as the shoppers. And the design is creativity, it's experimentation. It's really about, okay, we have an idea, but we need to exercise. It's always rubber that meets the road that really is your idea worthwhile. And then through those, you have these touch points that you're able, when I say adaptive, is that are you getting the response from the market that you can change swiftly? It's an 18-month calendar no longer works. This is why people are reacting and responding much more quicker to remain competitive. Personalization, co-creation, and brand relevance and scalability. I'm going to touch more as we progress. So we're moving into the fourth industrial revolution. And what is the fourth industrial revolution and how does it affect me in my business? I'll give you that. So we started out as hunter and gatherer, and so I just want to share, this is where we're at, number 4. But we really started as the steam engine, the innovation and manufacturing, and then we went into mass production and globalization with the Ford model. And then the computer and the internet really spread information. And we're in a different time and age of the fourth industrial revolution. And that has to do a lot with big data, bringing analytics in, meaning information in real time, the convergence of IoT and sensors. It's also about hardware-enabled software, meaning you can have these sensors, but it's the software that's running it. So it's not one or the other. And also, artificial intelligence is going to be huge. It's basically like electricity and will have a huge impact. And yes, so how can we bring all this technology into the manufacturing as well as the helping designers to then design a more intelligent way? There are companies now that are doing analytics. They basically scan the whole entire the internet ecosystem, any information related to fashion, be able to provide that data in real time for designers to understand what are the macro trends and the things that the consumer wants, so that they design that for that sin. Key trends, macro socioeconomic versus emerging tech. So it's no longer like I have a great idea. If you really want to sell and if you really want your business to be sustainable and grow and scale, it's also thinking about, well, what is this huge society care? What is it that people want? And key emerging is, again, quality and quantitative data. Again, this is basically being more responsive in what is it that you need to bring in so that you can learn and sell the things that are appropriate for that time, for that season, for that market. Before, a lot of retailers are using data from like previous seasons to estimate what they're going to ship. Now you're able to pull. So how is this going to the fourth industrial revolution? It's going to be able to help better manage inventory, connect with customers, and offer personalization and reduce returns, enhance product discovery. So people are now using vision recognition to snap a photo and be able to scan the internet to help find the relevant thing that you're most inspired by. I think Amazon is testing that and a bunch of other companies. And I also just spoke to a startup company called Indulo. So it's a engineer from aeronautics, space engineer. He created software to help superimpose products on specifically eyewear. So sometimes if you're trying to shop things online but you don't know how that looks, so you take a photo of yourself and his software program superimposes the product so that you're able to say, out of 10, I like this, and hopefully you don't have to return that product. because you know how big that sunglasses is on your face, how that shape or frame looks. Here is another one. Sephora is using Color IQ to measure foundation. I think it's also about personalization and finding the right match of foundation for your skin tone. And this one is Target with Pinterest. People are very visual creatures when it comes to shopping, and so this is using AI technology, vision recognition, to then help you search for a similar product to that there. So this is product finding, and Stitch Fix is really amazing. So it's not about just the problem with the consumer is not pushing more product. It's helping people to find the right product. So this again is a great way to address a service. It's basically helping people to style. And they use an algorithm based on a questionnaire that you fill out so that they make the right recommendation based on your body type, complexion, hair color, and preferences, lifestyle. So this is where when you learn about your consumer, you're able to deliver better product. So if you were working in your particular industry, what is it that you want to learn from your end consumer? Right now, blockchain is really interesting. Louis Vuitton is bringing blockchain so that they can help fight against counterfeits. And basically, there is an article on this that you should check out. Go in. I'm sorry?
I'm saying a little too late now.
And then also managing where your product's from, connecting like the digital and physical, and how to bring transparency. This one is interesting. I call this is behavior. I think another big trend is understanding behavior versus biometrics. Behavior design is basically understanding. This is where research is really helpful. So I just did a research with LG, and it's really interesting because I had to learn how they use their smart devices, because LG wanted to bring in connectivity between mobile and their home appliances. It's very interesting in the research. What people say and what they do are hugely different. So as a design researcher, you're basically trying to interpret from a subconscious level of what people want. This is where ethnography and everything is very critical. What they say, what they do different. So that's why you can't always rely on data. Behavior is basically understanding and tracking that. And then biometric is really interesting. This is where it has a huge possibility in wearable technology with what 360 is doing to bridge that, and also medical devices. And there are challenges, and yet I also worked in the healthcare. A lot of if you manage apparel and accessory as a medium to then to use behavioral design and biometrics. And I feel like this is like a new field area to discover. Can't see what I had here. So I think that is an exploratory area. Key macro socioeconomic trends. This is really interesting because I think this is where these big startups were able to make some major disruption. So some macro trend economics, the freelance and the gig economy has a huge influence. You ask me what is innovation. Can you think of anything top of your head? What is innovation? All right.
You mean a product or
Just anything top of your head. Creativity. Progressive.
Yeah.
Anything. What is innovation?
Something new.
Something new. Okay. What is it? Imagination. That's great. I went to a talk by this guy named Lee, and he said, and I didn't get this, he said, remove the necessary. Remove the necessary. Remove the necessary. What is that? It's, so it's like the biggest disruptor right now is being able to have a company to service rides without owning cars. Being able to, like Uber and Lyft is an example. or to be able to share a home without owning that home. So it's almost as though you're using underutilized inventory. Underutilized, because right now we produce, we own, we harness. So what affects that is it's really impacting that we're moving towards a sharing economy. We're in a shared space. And so yes, why, and even runway, where you're renting your clothes. And now other companies are looking to that. And I don't know if that works. I think it works more towards the higher end. But there's also apps where they're selling used stuff where, so there is this digital physical connection, but also what is that is important business that you remove and look at it in a totally different way. It's almost like doing everything upside down. So that's what one of the takeaway was, what is it that you remove? Longer lifespan and multi-generation. So we are living longer. So how does that affect things that we design? So if you were to offer, let's say, your yoga teacher training program as an example, are you meeting people that can service from, let's say, a beginner? What happen is a beginner or different stages of life. And same with your healing process, right? So it's very biological way of how the thing that we offer, is it meeting that customer where they're at? Oops. Mobility is also another big trend. People are now downsizing. All those McMansion are going away. And there are now new models of co-living that's happening in the hotel, and also in people are owning less and collecting more experiences. And also mobility, there's now more nomadic lifestyle. And how does product and service allow for that? Can I take my training on the road with me? Can I like this teaching so much. Can I wake up at 6 a.m. and do the practice? How does that work? Or how do I, if I have a healing session with you, how can I maintain that? What is it, your message that you can help me when I'm not with you? How can you make it, instead of one time, that you actually can sustain and you empower them to continue? So there's a lot of opportunity to sustain, not necessarily a one-time thing. Environmental is no longer a trend or something that you say, it's a necessity now, because resources are just getting more expensive. And we don't have plan B for the planet, this is it. So this is where, in the fashion industry, it's looking at the supply chain, the water usage, sustainability, a whole entire cycle, whether it's a closed loop or an open loop system. Promoting like fair and equality in dignity and through fair wages. And then how does the fourth industrial revolution impact that? So what time do we have now?
It's 2.
Yeah. So I think we're a little, I think we started a little late, and I was going to do another section to collaborate and innovate, but I'm going to honor the time and allow Stefan to share. And hopefully the presentation was giving you insight what human-centered design-led practice for the fashion industry. So thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have questions? I would love to hear it. Yes.
Well, one minute. Go first.
Just a quick question. That data information, is that in alignment with like the consciousness of sort of saving the earth? I mean,
Sure.
I'm sort of.
So that was like very, very broad in terms of using, and I think because within time allotted, it was very hard to go deep to the data. So in the qualitative data and the quant data, when I work, it's also setting up what question do you want answered. So depending on what question, I work with the stakeholders and the founders to craft the right question to get that insight. So I do that through asking through what is it that you want to learn, and and then I would craft the question. I also bring in the right methodology. So is it an ethnography? Is it shadowing? Is it survey? Is it in-home user? Is it so? Depending what it is, then I would craft the right mix of research.
We talked informally about connecting dots. Well, and I think I told you about my trip to China and my observations there, which are very superficial compared to some of my colleagues who have spent a long time there studying the legal system and studying the economics. So China, basically people fear what China is, yet China, we talk about property, sharing. That is something that in China that you can't own property there is very, very progressive, and I'm kind of poking here at this concept.
You're not at all, and I'm happy to answer that. I'm going to go right ahead and jump.
So to me, the issue is where ideas meet legal and governmental and societal oversight.
That's
and what I see is in our situation in this country and in the developed world, that disconnect between.
I'm listening.
Let me cut to the chase.
Yeah.
I think the most efficient way of operating is through a socialist and even dictatorial type of system. For instance,
you're talking about
Volkswagen, the Autobahn, and in China, going to now by the 30s and Hitler, but also in China, we have 200-mile-an-hour high-speed rail. We have unbelievable infrastructure that if you could teleport yourself from the subway system here to Beijing or to Shanghai or Wuhan, it's just mind-blowing. So what's going on here?
I'm not very clear. The only takeaway that I got from your message is culture. China is not US. So you need to really think about, when you talk about China and US, you're talking about culture. You're designing within culture. And it's very important when you're designing, you need to think about context. You can't fit a round peg in a square hole. It is impossible. It's just impossible. And this is the friction that we have on a much level. And you want to explain to China, and you want to bring the idea, or to Russia, you want to bring your product into that country, that ideology. Do you think it's a one-size-fits-all? I mean, from McDonald's to automobile, they have to rethink the whole entire in order for the culture fit of that product into that country.
But don't you think our individualism is our problem in the United States?
It is for that.
I mean, it's that, when you were talking about sustainability, or reference to sustainability,
But when
what do you think about laws that would prevent clothing companies from producing for, just like they have odd and even days marking on certain sides of the street?
Because it has to do with behavior. When you're designing today, you're designing for control, and agency. Because people are motivated, you give them access, when you give them choice. What choices are you giving society? If you don't design this, people are gonna risk. So you're designing something that people don't need, and I can happy to go in deeper detail of this to where it appears.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to say, maybe I don't know if I'm doing well, is I'm just contemplating these days where it is legal I'm talking about, I'm kind of referring to the lobby system,
You're going to public,
industry.
you're going to public policy, and there's
Well,
gonna be.
yes, where can you have freedom and creativity?
So it's-
Wait,
You're designing within context of that. And unfortunately, you know, you gotta understand a lot of the legal system if you're manufacturing in China versus shipping in here. This is where trades and NAFTA have an effect on how we produce and ship the cost of goods. So that's why collaboration is important. It is not for one person to solve or anything. This is just opening up a conversation. But let's just take that offline and we'll continue, and we'll give Stefan his stage.
Yeah, we'll set up, I'll start at 5:30.
Yeah, is anyone else, any other question? Yeah? All right, thank you.
Thank you.